Hi everybody, I'm going to give you a brief video introduction to this online discussion. I want to hit on a few things in the reading or about the reading that I don't think really come through. Um, and so I thought maybe I could supplement your reading with just kind of a few thoughts to help you hopefully bring things together that will help your discussion along. This reading comes from a book, or actually all three readings for this module come from a book called Ancient Rhetorics for Contemporary Students, which is the book that I've used in the past in different versions of this course. And while I think that the book does a nice job giving you kind of a history of and kind of a practical background in these different types of appeals, what it doesn't do a great job um, in is helping you understand how these things play out in the real world. Um, the discussion of enthymemes in particular is extremely interesting. However, what they fail to really talk about and what they fail to give examples of is how entrenched and how opaque and how often difficult it is to identify what aspects of a rhetorical text are enthymetic and what the premises are and what the missing premises are and what the conclusion is and all of these things. Enthymemes as rhetorical devices or as rhetorical arguments are in many ways designed with one goal in mind, and that goal is to convince or persuade an audience to believe or do whatever it is the rhetor is trying to get them to do. And so authors, rhetors, whoever's constructing an argument, they tend to put in and leave out those things that would best allow or best help them to make arguments. So we'll often see in news, opinion pieces, television shows, whatever, anything that has a persuasive goal in mind, only bits and pieces of arguments, and the actual and the rest of those arguments are left for us as the audience to fill in, figure out, or in a lot of cases ignore. And I think that's the intention, because the premises upon which conclusions are built in enthymetic reasoning are often untrue. Um, Therefore, they would not support a persuasive argument if they were actually stated. That sounds rather cynical, but I think the truth of the matter is so many of the arguments that we encounter on a day-to-day basis are less than 100% accurate, and the goals of the author, rhetor, whoever's making the argument are often not stated and questionable to a certain extent. So, and I think hopefully this will play out as the semester goes along and you'll understand more and more what I mean. But for the purposes of this particular discussion, um, understand that enthymemes are by design hidden, and enthymemes are not so much a rhetorical device as they are a way of understanding how rhetorical arguments function. Beginning with the end result or the desired result of persuading someone, um, and kind of going backwards from there to determine how arguments can be put together to best achieve that goal of persuasion. So, like when the authors talk about rhetorical examples and maxims and signs and analogies, these are not separate from enthymemes, but these are the things that help to make enthymemes possible. These are the types of arguments that we put in, these are the types of things that we put into our arguments to help persuade, and then we back up a step and look at those pieces and parts, whether they're signs, examples, maxims, whatever. Those are the ways that we build premises to flesh out our arguments or to flesh out our enthymemes. So, I mean, enthymemes are kind of a general way of understanding rhetorical arguments, and the examples and maxims and signs are kind of bits and pieces that we use to to um, to construct those arguments. And so I think the most important point here is that in rhetorical argument, there is no one correct answer, and there is no one correct way to interpret or understand an argument. Um, argument, what the actual argument that's being made is in many ways constructed not by just the rhetor, but it's constructed in conjunction with the audience. So, I mean, an argument made by me to any one of you individually, I may say the same thing and making an argument, but the actual argument, the actual enthymeme that comes out between your interaction with my argument will be different person by person, because they'll interpret premises a little bit different. They'll interpret any historical examples a little bit different. They'll interpret, various things differently because of our ideology, our histories, our familiarity with the subject, all that kind of stuff. And so while this chapter does a great job breaking down things, what it does a poor job of, I think, is connecting things. And so this little video is an attempt to kind of get you to see that these aren't separate things, and it's very hard to define individual pieces of rhetorical argument because they can often function in many different ways, depending on who the audience is, depending on who the rhetor is, depending on where they are, all that kind of stuff. And so with the discussion I'm going to have you engage in below, I'm going to have you start with doing a little bit of research and doing a little bit of interpretation. I'm going to ask you to kind of interact with each other's analyses of something and see if you can flesh out this idea, or help me flesh out this idea that that enthymetic arguments, rhetorical arguments, are contingent upon the interaction of an argument and an audience. And so as rhetors, as those constructing arguments, we have to do a good job of analyzing our audience. And providing the information, the signs, the examples, the maxims, all that kind of stuff that will be most persuasive, if our end goal is simply to persuade. So please read through the assignment below and start your thread and get a discussion going. Please get this started early, because I want you to have a chance to really interact with each other, and I want to have a chance to interact with all of you. Hopefully this will be interesting and productive. Good luck.